Hey everybody, it's Miranda here from the Swirly Do's Education Design Team, and I've got a tutorial to share with you all today. I've had a lot of questions on my mini album from last month's technique kit. I didn't show how I did the cover. I showed like all of the inside pages, but I didn't share with you on how I did the cover as far as the rolled back paper goes. So I've had quite a few people requesting it, and I'm so sorry that's taken me a while to get to it, but I wanted to share that with y'all today. And I'm not going to do a mini album, but I'm going to do the same technique on this canvas here. So I went ahead and prepped a little bit of what I'm going to be using, and I am going to be using the Fairy Rhymes paper from Prima. It's one of the new releases, so I just really wanted to use this paper. So what I did is I cut enough paper for my sides, measured them out. This is a 6x6 canvas, and then the sides are 1.5 inch wide. So I went ahead and cut those and distressed it so I could save some time. And then for your roll back parts, your curl back parts, this is not a double-sided paper. Double-sided paper works better, although I didn't use double-sided on my mini album, and you really can't tell unless you go like that and look inside of there. So we're rolling back the patterned part. So if you have double-sided paper, it would be even better, but if you don't worry about it. So I cut these at 6 inches by, this one's 4, and then these two are 4, 6 by 4, and then 6 by 5. You don't have to do a whole, I didn't even really have to cut them this big, but they were basically scraps from another project I was working on, so I just went ahead and salvaged it. But you don't need to cut a whole 6x6 sheet of paper for your curl backs because you're not going to use that much, and I'll show you why. So just to save y'all some paper. So we're going to do a lot of fun techniques on here using this paper and then also some remnants from some past Swirly Do's kits. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to adhere these down because they do take a while to dry. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to adhere this paper down on here, and then I'm also going to, when I cover my sides, I want to do some curl backs on them as well. And since it's not double-sided paper, I cut enough strips to where I would have one left over to kind of piece on here. So I'm going to go ahead and tear strips of this one. Probably be better if I just showed you. I think I'll have a curl back there, a curl back down here, and a curl back over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to adhere the two white parts together like this, so that way when I want to curl back my edge, it will have the pattern paper showing through. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm just going to start adhering these together. Okay, I've gotten all my sides glued on and the top part, and you can see what I mean by I just double-sided that because it wasn't already, and I didn't glue down this part right here or right here because I'm going to curl that back later. So I'm just going to leave that how it is for now and let the glue really dry on there. But now we're going to get started on our other part. And the reason I laid this one down is because I really want to distress this up, and I don't want any of the canvas really to show through. So when I put this other one on and curl it back, this will be showing through in the V area. It'll be this paper right here. And also so I can just kind of tear back and manipulate this paper, and it'll still have, you know, designer paper back there showing through. Okay, so all you're going to do is take your pieces and you're going to cut. You can fold in the middle to kind of get a good midway point. And then you're just going to cut on that line right there. I'm going to flip it over here. Doesn't have to be perfect. Just going to cut in a ways. About even all the way through. Okay. About like that. Okay, and then you're going to take your other ones You're going to line them up as well. I'm trying to figure out how I want it to show. If it'll be this one, well, I'll do that last. Right now I'm just going to cut down the middle on these. Okay. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we need to get these to curl back. So what we're going to do is you're going to need a spray bottle. And for this one, I'm going to curl this part back. Of course, they'll end up being covered. That white won't show. So I'm just going to go ahead and spray it on this side. Just right there where the curls are going to be. And I just kind of rub the excess off. And then just take a paintbrush or whatever you want to use to curl back the paper. Just like that. Just kind of hold it for a minute. And then go on to the next side. Okay, and if you guys hear any noises in the background, I live very close to kind of like the spring break capital here in my town, and it is spring break here. I live in Panama City, and it's insanely busy right now, just overrun with spring breakers. So that's like all we're hearing outside is concerts and all this chaos going on. So if you hear any of that, I do apologize. While it's still wet, this is how you get your curls to stay. Otherwise, like, it'll just end up kind of coming apart. It'll stay curled, but it won't be perfect. So the trick to getting really good stiff curls is heat setting it. And you want to heat from this direction because eventually it'll start going like that, but then eventually it'll start curling back that way. So that's what I'm going to do now. Okay, so you got that piece done. And now we're actually going to do it on the other side of these, the water, because we want that part to show. So, and actually, really quickly, before I forget, I'm going to just truss up these edges really quick. I don't want any clean edges. I want it all to be very shabby. Okay, so now just do the same technique, spraying it with water. And then curling it back. And you're going to repeat this same process on all of your other papers as well. And you know, don't worry about the shape of it exactly, because once we start adhering it down, you can use glue to keep it in the way you want it to be. So again, just heat setting it. Okay, and if it wants to break in the middle, no big deal. Just go ahead and tear it. That doesn't even matter because we can even cut these out individually, which I'll show you in a minute. So don't worry about it breaking or tearing there in the center. It's not a big deal at all. Okay, so I'm just going to repeat the same process to these two, and I'll be back. Okay, I've got all my pieces curled, and what I found best, why I said you can go ahead and tear this earlier, is I found it best to just cut each little curl individually. So like cut down the middle here. And get all your little curls separate. And I'll show you, when you go to adhere it down, it's so much easier than trying to line the whole paper up. You can just kind of place your curls. So, the next step is determining how you want them to go, like which paper you want here first. I think I'm going to go with the wood grain one, and then probably the pink one, and then probably the other notebook paper looking one I think would look best. So about like that is how I want mine to be. So that's all you're going to figure out for now. And the first step is just adhering your first one down. So you can see how it just automatically fits over there. Now I'm just going to use tape for this. You can use adhesive, you can do whatever you want. And I just take little strips of it, make sure it's lined up from the front and the back, and tape that down, just to get it to stay there for now. I'm going to put another little piece as well, right there in the center of it. Okay, so then you're going to take your next one. It's just so much easier to work with them individually and getting them to go into place than having to line up the whole 6x6 sheet of paper, if that makes sense, y'all. Okay, so now I'm going to do this one. And okay, about right there is perfect for me. So I'm going to, actually what I'm going to do really quickly is I'm going to take a few strips of tape and place them on the side of my cutter over here to the side, so I can just kind of grab and go and I don't have to keep pulling pieces each time I'm ready to tape. Okay, so let me make sure it's lined up again. And it is. Just tape it down. Okay, do the same thing for the last one, the notebook paper one. And you don't have to worry about them all curling over now, because as you go in you can kind of separate them and glue them to stay how you want. So for now you're just wanting to get them adhered together. Okay, so we got one of them ready to go. I'm going to go ahead and start on the next one now, down here. You're doing the same thing, just lining them up and taping it. And I'm going to do this all the way around, and I will come back when I'm completely done. So you're just going to keep on placing them here and taping them down, y'all. Really simple, really easy to do. Okay, so just go all the way around and do the same thing, and I'll come back when this is finished. Okay, so I've got it all the way curled back on all the sides, and they're all overlapping now, but like I said, don't worry about that. You can do that last. Now to adhere this down, you can use whatever you want. I'm actually going to use hot glue because I've done a few of this, and I found that hot glue works just as good as anything else. So let me grab my glue gun and a glue stick really quickly. I'm going to start in the middle and work my way out with my hot glue. So just right over the tape here. Okay, I'm just going to make sure it's lined up how it should be, and then press down and let that dry for a minute, and then I'll go in and work my way down. Now all you need to do after you get your glue strings off is go over here and just kind of play with how you want this to go. So kind of play with pulling this one a little bit, pull this one out a little bit, that one, just kind of get it how you want them to be. You can either leave it like that or you can glue it. I am going to glue mine because I like it to stay however I choose for it to go. So I'm placing a little bit of glue. Just kind of glue each one down. I'm using hot glue. You can use any adhesive you want. I'm just going to kind of pull that one over it. I like hot glue, especially with paper, because it dries quickly. You don't have to worry about waiting for it to dry. Okay, I'm going to put that one about like that. And then this one, I'm just going to kind of let it stay how it is. So there's one side done. Just play with each side, getting it how you want it to go. Okay, so that is pretty well how I want mine to be. And then when you start embellishing it, you know, putting flowers in and out, it really just brings it to life. So just play around with it. You could do a ton of layers of this shawl, however you want to do it. But that is the basic technique used there. And then you put things here in the middle, flowers going out, and it just becomes really, really pretty and really super dimensional, as you can see. Now the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start curling back my papers before I embellish it. And all I'm going to do here is those parts that I didn't adhere down, I'm going to start curling those back. So again, I'm going to use a little bit of water, and I'm going to spray both sides of this because I double layered it and it's pretty thick there. Okay, I'm going to grab my paintbrush again and just curl this back and hold it for a second because it's pretty thick, and then just reset it. Okay, and again from there you can go in and adhere this part down so that it doesn't look funky, and you can just use hot glue. That's what I'm going to use. Hot glue is my friend because it dries quickly and I'm very impatient. Okay, you can just kind of fluff it out or leave it like that, however you want to do it. You can even go in and glue more if you want it smaller, whatever you want to do. Do the same thing to the top. Okay, so you guys can see just how much dimension this canvas has already. And then of course there will be pictures of the finished product, but this is the base to my canvas, and you can just build off of here. And if anything's imperfect, y'all, it's because I seem to always mess up when I'm on camera. But doing this at home, you won't probably make the same little mistakes that I did. Like, definitely distress up these edges as well if you like the distress look, which I do. So that is basically it for creating that look. This can be done on layouts. In fact, let me show you a layout I've done it on. Here is a layout I created using the same technique right there, and I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 layers that time instead of 3, so you can really get dimensional with it and do all kinds of fun stuff. So I hope you guys like the technique. If you have any questions, just leave me a comment down below.